Alright, hello everyone. My name is Disc. I'm a title healer from the War Within, and this is my AUG. So yeah, give a comment, like, and a subscribe to the video as always. And you might have seen me teasing my AUG on stream. It's kind of been an idea of mine to bring it over to my YouTube for a while. I think it might be a good way to expand my channel, and I think I have learned quite a few tips and tricks along the way. I still consider myself amateur to novice, so certainly don't take me as an authority on this class, but I do want to open the door to make this a two-way street. You know, if anyone finds my videos entertaining, please, throw me a bone if I'm missing something, but I hope at least what I know of AUG and the things that I've had to learn through trial and error and research, I hope I can pass that along to someone else. At the very least, I have some pretty nifty UI solutions to help us min-max our role a little bit. But in talking about UI, some of the things I have is I use dominoes for my action bar HUD. That's similar to my Disc Priest. A big shout out to the author and the add-on Voodoo Casting Bar is a really nice solution to kind of help see where we are in our rotation. It colors our cast bar based on the spell school. It looks really nice. I think it's good on stream. And it does help quite a bit to kind of just visualize where you are. And similar to my Disc Priest, I'm using Grid 2 for my party frames, and I have it configured to help me track my prescience uptime. So obviously that's a big deal as an AUG, and along with Grid 2 to help me monitor that, I'm using the add-on Prescience. Say that 10 times fast. But I'm just aiming for basic right now. I know there's ways you can min-max it further and get more out of prescience. But the add-on prescience is pretty easy. It makes it, it's just a button that cycles between two pre-selected targets. So my focus right now is just have high uptime on our 2 DPS. I'm not really worried about a third prescience at the moment. Obviously, another thing I'm working on is keeping high ebonite uptime. A nice solution I have to see its activity time is the built-in cooldown tracker. I have it placed right above my cast bar. I think that's a good place for it. Looks pretty nice, easy to see it, easy to manage. And then I'm using Platinator, a pretty similar setup to my Disc Priest, just kind of modified for AUG. I have it highlighting casters in the field so I can help manage my kicks that way. At the moment, I'm just managing kicks between my target and my focus. I know there's better ways to do it, but I am a priest main, so learning to kick is a new thing. But I have all of my casters highlighted so I can set them as a focus, and then I have keybinds to either kick my target or my focus. And then other than that, I'm obviously trying to practice my rotation, quite a bit different, trying to manage essence coming from a mana class, but my rotation around Breath of Eons and just generally my rotation around Ebonite. I think I'm getting the hang of it, but in these lower keys, we really just don't have enough health in a pull to really get through a rotation fully. But managing that has been a little bit of a struggle for me, so if you have any tips or tricks or ideas, let me know. And as always, I wanted to flash the talents up here, but I certainly do not know these well enough to talk through them like I might on my Disc Priest. But if you want to see the talents I ran for this key, they're right here. Take a look. I would say mainly look at the capstone talents. I did some research. I looked at other people. This is, I think, a pretty standard build. And similar with Discipline, I don't think builds have too much wiggle room these days. Obviously, there are flex talents depending on if you need to take utility spells. But talents seem pretty straightforward these days with not too much to talk about. But yeah, so that's about it for my intro. I do plan on making more AUG content moving forward. I do hope I can learn and become a better AUG player through my YouTube. I've had so many of my viewers help me learn things along the way with Disc Priest that I'm really appreciative for, and I hope to use this as maybe just a look back and just have a little bit of fun and expand my channel. But one of the main purposes of putting this teaser out today is I wanted to show off some of the video editing graphics I've made. Had a lot of fun doing it. I think they're really successful, so please let me know if you've noticed them and if you like them. And without further ado, let's go ahead and clip over to the key. Alright, so here we go. Hope you like that transition and all the other graphics. But before we started this key, I guess you can just watch this first pull. It's breath, lust, and everything. But I wanted to ask a couple questions, and in the spirit of trying to learn and engage with my community, there's a couple things I'm unsure about. I've looked around watched other YouTube videos, and I guess I'm just unsure, so I wanted to ask a couple questions here in the front. So when it comes to our fire breath, generally, now because of our new capstone talent that we're encouraged to take, generally it's best to play that as rank 1, I'm asking. And then when it comes to a Breath of Eons rotation, I think also, if someone could chime in and correct me, it's best to go into your Ebb and Might, play a couple eruptions, then your Breath of Eons. Is that right? And I guess I think that's to eat up some of your essences and let them go ahead and reset while you're doing your breath, while you're doing your empowered spells. So I think that's the right play, if someone could let me know. And then when it comes to like a standard Ebb and Might window, what about, how often are you playing your Prescience back to back? Because I think for a while I was playing Prescience, Eruption, Prescience. But I've watched a couple other players, and I guess maybe when time allows, you play 2 back to back. I guess it boils down to, it's subjective, if anyone could chime in there. And then the last one I have, this one I can't help but feel like it's the right thing to do, but I didn't really see other Augs leaning into it. But like before an Ebb and Might window, or before a Breath of Eons, how important is it to go ahead and bank at least 1 Essence Burst? I can't help but feel like that's a good idea. But, okay, so to the key. You might hear a couple knocking sounds. I have an add-on that lets me know if I'm wasting resource, if, like, Ebb and Might's going to expire. But you'll see with my grid 2, I have it highlighting my Prescience targets. That is helping me manage their uptime and see it clearly and in a highlighted way. Also, like I mentioned in the intro, the add-on is Prescience. I think it's really nice. But I know I'm kind of taking a shortcut and I'm not maximizing the spell that well yet. But my goal at the moment is just keep high uptime on those 2 targets. And Prescience, it just cycles back and forth. So if you do it naturally, let's say, 2 people are prescienced right now and you press it again, it'll default to the tank. So I kind of don't like that. I'd rather my prescience, when my rotation calls for them, to go to those 2 people, at least for now. And we're having a little bit of a FAP window here. Looks like I was holding back on my upheaval. How about that for a question too? Sometimes if we're just trying to kill a little bit of time and we're not going to have much of a rotation to give, Ebb and Might Fire Breath and just kind of hold the upheaval. I think all of this is going to completely change once we get out of Mythic 0. It's kind of hard to analyze things here because things just die too quickly. The cadence isn't quite the same as even a 10. Here we have a better rotation, so that was a breath. Loving that hover is off the GCD completely. Oh, and here's another question too, if anyone can answer this one. So let's say we're in our Breath of Eons window. We're going to have 1 Fire Blast, is that what they're called? Living Flame. We're going to have 1 Living Flame that's buffed from our Fire Blast. Oh my gosh, I don't even know the spell names. If we're in our Breath of Eons window, is it worth playing that 1 buffed Living Flame, or would it be better if I just hit Eruption? I don't know. Okay, so with this mechanic here, I'm first picked, and I'm in my Ebb and Might window, so I'm kind of just trying to give the Ebb and Might its value before I play the mechanic. And I don't think there's anything wrong there, especially on a Mythic 0. You can hold that debuff, it's just going to take your health. So it doesn't time out, I don't think. Yeah, so what you saw there was I kind of just held on to it a little bit, waited to get through my window for a better opportunity. Yeah, so I threw a lot of questions at you guys. If anyone knows Aug better than I do, or even if you just have a thought, please let me know. love to rescue. And I think it's one of my favorite keybinds across both characters. My rescue keybind is 2 left clicks. I have it set with click casting, where I click the person left click, and then I click on the ground left click. So left click, left click. Seems pretty intuitive to me, pretty natural. And I always think of, if anyone knows the reference, I might be dating myself. You. Yeah. Does anyone get that? I always think that. Bette Midler. Okay, so on a ramp like this, I'm just trying to get some essence bursts procced. We've not talked about kicking too much, but these purplish mobs are the casters. Okay, let's see, Breath of Eons. And I do think, yeah, I was talking about it earlier, but playing a couple eruptions before the breath I think is better. But in these lower keys, I'm just trying to get the Breath of Eons out to hopefully have my temporal wound trigger, and I just pulled. Yeah, what I'm finding in these lower keys is the groups die so quickly, the bomb of the temporal wound isn't even landing. So I'm really just trying to get into that Breath of Eons. But I definitely think when we get to higher keys, putting a couple of your essences on reset before the Breath of Eons, that has to be the right answer. Let me know. And I like that little punch sound too. It's helping me save my resources. You heard me talk about it earlier, but it's like if my Ebon Might is expiring and I'm casting an eruption that is not going to land before Ebon Might expires, it's wasted resource. So this little add-on makes a little noise at you. But with kicking, we don't really get any good examples in here. But I'm using focus to manage kicks, or like to try and manage kicks. Let's watch how this one goes. So Fire Breath, I'm generally doing rank 1. Eruption, I'm trying to do higher rank to make sure it hits everybody. And you also see with my grid 2, highlighted right now in purple, those are curses. Those are not for us to dispel unless potentially you want to throw a cauterize. But poisons and bleeds will be a solid border. Magics, curses, diseases will be dotted lines, indicating they are not ours for the most part. Okay, I'm in my Ebon Might. I gotta keep the pull going. I really don't think I get any good kick examples in here, but when I was playing pre-patch and packs were a little bit more... Oh, there's a kick. When casts were a little bit more important, or pulls lasted longer, I was in better practice. But I have a keybind if I have a focus. Uh-oh. So I remember when that happened when I played the key, and I should have... I had no hovers, that's why I got hit. But as Aug, we have so many more spells. I could have rescued someone out. Or like rescued myself out, to be honest. I could have maybe done a Verdant Embrace. But I am getting better at kicks. I manage it between my target and my focus. I have separate keybinds to either go to my focus if there is one, or go to my target if not. Okay, here's a Breath of Eons window. And you might also notice, so I'm using the buff tracker right above my cast bar. That's for the Ebon Might duration. But then also right on the left of my 3D model, I bring in, those are both native. It's the native buff tracker to track my hover, my temporal wounds, and spatial paradox. And I think that's the best way to go about using these native, like built-in trackers for buffs. Use them selectively. So when it comes to that bar, I'm only tracking Ebon Might with a bar. And when it comes to the little icons, like you see it right here with hover, I'm only tracking 3. Hover and spatial paradox, generally, only one of those is going to be up at a time. And then the temporal wounds comes up too there. And you could put temporal wounds on your nameplates, but it's a little messy if you ask me. It's like there's double temporal wounds, there's like other stuff. You have to enable so much in your nameplates in order to see temporal wounds, and I don't like that. So I'm tracking this, just that little icon instead. Okay, so I would say the name of the game here is a DPS player. Is bank your Breath of Eons for the DPS phase, the Light Scar Flare. If you're selected from those attacks, obviously use a personal. Okay, so the Light Scar is upon us. I want to get some Essence Burst in my pocket. I want Prescience out. And then I think I'm going to rescue somebody in. Yeah, you have to do it after that first attack. So breath, hover backwards, both my empowered spells, and then just let loose with eruptions. And I really like the colored cast bars down there between volcanic and fire. And also you notice my cast bar, work in progress, stay tuned, I'll give you some updates. The cast bar also shows instant cast, which I think that helps me in combat, but I think it also helps the viewer. But this is a secondary add-on to Voodoo Casting Bar, my favorite. Voodoo Casting Bar is actually working that in as a feature, and I've been working with the author on it. So Voodoo Casting Bar for the win. It's going to have a lot more features coming soon. I'm helping with that development a little bit, and it's going to be better than the two solutions that are on the market at the moment. But yeah, I do really love seeing a native cast bar for instant casts. I think it's just kind of nice. Okay, scanning buffs. Don't got nothing. Breath of Eons is in 30. I would have liked to have rescued that guy, but it's okay. I like playing a couple Prescience out of combat just to get it rolling and fish for an Essence Burst. Played 2 there, got nothing. But really love seeing those on Grid 2. Also with Grid 2, just while I'm talking about it, you may have noticed, may not have noticed, but I don't track absorb values on my party frames as AUG. I don't really think it's too important. I'd really rather just clearly see where my Prescience is. Okay, here's a breath. Get all those hoes. I remember this too. Both pushing for the win. That was probably the most cringe breath of all time. And I think what happened there is the big guy was up on the hill casting his frontal that doesn't really have a good telegraph, thanks Blizzard. And there was a Z-axis problem that made it harder to see. And right after I landed for my breath, I got disoriented and got nothing out of the temporal wounds. Hate to see it. Guess it happens from time to time. Okay. That time I did a rank 3 fire breath. I think because I was just trying to allow the mobs a little time to get in my way. Gosh, I'm the worst. Okay, we have a breath here. Nice, all stacked. I also think a better breath is when they're closer. That one, it just had to happen. Switching targets to spread my bombardments. Haven't really said anything about that yet, but I hope that's obvious for anyone playing AUG. I hope that's information you might have picked up elsewhere and we can focus on it in the future. But always tab target between your bombardments. Obviously you want it to go on someone that's not about to die. And something I don't know if this changed or maybe I was just wrong. I thought you had to attack the target with bombardments for the extension, but I think as long as you get eruptions on anyone, the bombardments extend. Okay, and this is a little bit of a tricky ebb and might. I played one of my empowered spells before the boss and one of my empowered spells on the boss. Okay, I'm selected here. Great place for Spatial Paradox. Love that spell. I think the hardest thing coming from a background of Discipline is learning to cast while moving. And we've not really had any good Zephyr opportunities here. In all transparency, I don't know where all of them are. I know there's a resource out there for that, but I'm kind of just not using that global since it's a low key. This might be a good Zephyr opportunity here. But yeah, right there, what I did, I don't know if it's the right choice or not, but I did Ebb and Might into a Fire Breath. Oh, I walked right past him. Damn, I was trying to get him for us. Ebb and Might into Fire Breath, just to get that spell rolling before the reset, get a little bit of extra damage before he phased out. Okay, let's see, last Temporal Wounds. Let's see if it lands or not. Please land, please land. Oh, it missed. Rip. Yeah, so that's just the nature of the beast with M0. I guess it's something we're all having to deal with right now. But I'm having a lot of fun with the AUG. I plan to keep doing some AUG videos in the future. I've had a lot of fun building the graphics, like the title screen, the transitions. You'll see it in a moment. The outro screen for the credit roll. Spent a lot of time doing that. I think they're really successful, so please let me know if you like them. I think they are great. They're right in theme of my main channel with Discipline. I think they're nice, they're fiery, they're timey, they're smoky. But yeah, let's see. In conclusion, so I have dominoes for my action bars in the middle, grid 2 to help me track my prescience. I'm using Platinator to help my caster stand out as purple. I'm using Precious Prescience at the moment to manage my prescience uptime. And then I'm using, it's an Ebon. If anyone wants to know, I can link it for you. I can find it. But it's that add-on that makes a punch noise if your eruption is going to fall beyond the life of your Ebon Might to kind of encourage you to cancel that cast and save the resource. So those are a couple things I'm doing right now. I'm still not in good habit of playing Lust. Does anyone have notes or like tips on that? Or maybe I just need to get good. I don't know. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you like some AUG content. I hope this brings in some AUGs to my channel. And until next time, Disc.